So I really think at some point in this game, we all want to achieve a super high excitement coaster. For me, I really started to dive into this journey a few months ago, and I set out on the quest to break 10 excitement. Not just on a hill or a loop or something like that, but for the whole entire rating. And here's what I found out along the way. So the first thing that I was tasked with is choosing what type of coaster to try to pull this off with. I did try a couple of different coasters running through the same kind of hills and loops to see how their ratings reacted in those features, but in the end, I feel like I really knew it had to be a launched coaster. The typical chain lift is just way too long and it really brings the excitement down since everything's averaged. So, since the point of getting rid of the chain lift was so that we could start into the excitement as soon as possible, I came out with this kind of first feature for the ride. So the car launches straight out of the station and immediately goes into an airtime moment hill. So at the end of the launch, we've reached 75 miles an hour coming into the next hill. We've also hit 12 excitement over this first hill. So you can see what a huge difference this makes in compared to a chain lift, which normally is around 2 excitement and lasts much longer than this. So I'm sure you've noticed the roller coaster doesn't really have very many features. It's just airtime hills, other than the 2 turnarounds. I looked at a lot of different loops and inversions, but nothing would beat the excitement of the classic airtime hill. I've also added a mid-run booster in more than one spot. And this ensures that we're maintaining the speed and we're capturing a long airtime moment. If our hills don't ever get any negative g-forces, then they're just not exciting. And lucky for you, I've noted some of my experiments with launch angles and speeds over the airtime hill to see which generates the highest excitement. And I was actually really surprised by these results. They did not go as I expected them to. As you can see on the screen, the speed doesn't really play as much of a factor as I personally would have thought it did. But also in a similar fashion, the launch angle of the hill didn't really matter. And what I mean by launch angle is the angle where we've stopped inclining and we start the decline. But as you can see, the right angle and the speed can help get a few extra decimals on the excitement rating. But the biggest factor of all is the negative g-force. And if you can hover your negative vertical g-forces around minus 0.1 to minus 0.3, that's the sweet zone for getting maximum excitement. It's a little bit hard to read on the heat maps because the intervals that it actually places the numbers is spread out. So you kind of have to go on color and also just a visual look of the coaster. One last little tidbit that I found was smoothing out the track actually decreased the excitement. It decreased the fear and nausea as well, but in this case, we wanted the extra excitement, so I left some of the track unsmoothed. There's also something to be said about the brake run. If you tune your brake run right, you can get a last little spurt of excitement just before the station. So as you can see over that last little bunny hill into the brake run, we actually increase the excitement after the hill as we hit the brakes. And the reason for this excitement is the forward g-forces. Getting those negative forward g's will bring up the excitement. If you're going for realism, this is probably something you wanted to avoid, but for this sake, we were going for the highest excitement possible. So, in the end of the day, our biggest drop was only 54 meters, and our max speed was 80 miles an hour. The track ended up being a lot longer than I had imagined it would have been at just over 1,000 meters. But we did it, we got 10.08 excitement. And we stayed under 6 fear and under 2 nausea, which is also quite an accomplishment. This was a super fun experiment, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. Just go out there, mess around with the different types, and try to see how high of an excitement rating you can get. You'll definitely end up spending a lot of time tweaking these hills, making sure you're holding those negative G's for as long as possible. I know for sure that I'll be able to take the information I've learned here and make better coasters in the future.